Hey,
Folks, I'm John, also known as DorkLovesSports on Twitter and YouTube.
hey guys, I'm Paul Bomba once again.
We're going to be
Airwolf to
doing
Rewolf, John.
Airwolf to Rewolf, Paul, and we'll be watching episode 6 of season 1, Echoes from the Past.
Echoes from the past. Wow. What an exciting... John, I gotta say, Airwolf is back, man, and in a big way. I was bummed after that last episode, and this one got my juices going in a way that I did not expect.
I found this one very similar to the last one.
Okay, well, let's talk about it. What is going on in this episode?
Better executed, but still very similar. Like, this was
Yeah.
the last episode was supposed to be.
Maybe you're right. You know, it's like, again, we're talking about adventure of the week, so these things can be really in any order whatsoever. There's no like continuous story to the adventures of Stringfellow, Hawk, and company. But this one starts out very peacefully. String is playing the cello, hanging out at the Hawk's nest, and oh, he hears something. What is it? What does he hear, John?
Here's a biplane doing some fancy stuff. It's exciting.
Yeah, and the guy like throws something out. It comes trickling down. String retrieves it ostensibly. We don't see that. He opens it up. Oh, there's a message. He goes to meet the guy who sent the message, and it's this guy McGregor Moore, Peter McGregor Moore, or Patrick McGregor Moore. I'm not sure which one. I think he was referred to differently times. And McGregor Moore is... he's a pilot.
I have Peter McGregor Moore as the official listing. Yeah.
I had Peter too, but at one point they referred to him as Patrick. So
yeah,
confusing stuff. But Peter McGregor Moore is getting out of his biplane. He's got something for String. It's a message about that they located St. John, and String is hooked by this. So he's gonna maybe participate in a raid to go get St. John in northern Vietnam. These two guys go their separate ways, and String gets back in his little bubble helicopter. I don't know what these are called. They're like Hueys, kind of like a little dinky little
typical consumer helicopter.
Yeah, I mean they're flying these planes and helicopters around like, I would get in my car or jump on a bike.
Yeah, like a news chopper, kind of that jam.
Right. So he gets in his chopper and he's flying and gets a little woozy.
It was interesting. Hold on. I found it interesting that they put the part in where Patrick explained to Stringfellow that Archangel, don't be too mad at Archangel. He tried to get St. John St. John.
Mm-hmm.
But the State Department stepped in and wouldn't let him. So I just thought it was interesting that they put that in, kind of continue to seed that relationship.
Interesting detail. So they part ways. Looks like this is going to be a thing that's going to happen. And String is it seems like he's just so excited that he starts to have a heart attack, maybe. He passes out. I love the reenactment there, John.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Dramatic reenactment.
And he spirals out of control in this helicopter. And what did I write here? What the fuck? Crash. Dude, the helicopter like goes straight to the side of a mountain and explodes.
just done. And then the next shot is him on the ground, like 20 feet away from the wreckage, just kind of like...
He's in the hospital. He wakes up. A year has passed.
All right. They're seeding the show, right, during some of these scenes. They have an opening scene that gives you some of the background. And then here we have, I think, every shot of Gabriel that was ever in the show as a memory as he's getting shocked, because I guess that's what he's thinking of before he dies.
Yeah.
And it just, every shot, including some awkward ones we talked about, used multiple times. It was interesting. They're keeping that character alive in the show, which is interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, he must have really been in love because we see a lot of Gabrielle. So he's having this fugue state. We don't know what's going on. We cut to commercial break, and then we come back. He's in a hospital bed. He's waking up from his coma.
Yeah.
And he basically wants to get out of bed. Essentially, he gets out of his hospital bed, and he's going for the exit. we cut into this elevator, and we see like a young, nice-looking nurse and this
Nurse Susan. Yep.
a school marmish kind of nurse. And the elevator doors open, and String is like walking down the hallway, and this mean nurse like literally shoves him and is like, "Get back to your room," right?
And then yells at the nice nurse, like, "Get the hell out of here! You're not allowed here. It's the private floor."
Yeah, it's a private floor. Get out of here. And she's like, "What? What's going on?"
Interesting.
Oh, that's my phone. Sorry about that. I should put that on silent. Boing, boing. I'm telling. Yeah, so we're seeing footage of Princess Di and Prince Charles news report. They're breaking up. Yeah, and they're like, "Oh yeah, the doctor hopefully will come see you soon." And then literally the next second, the doctor shows up.
Dr. Rothschild.
Dr. Rothschild, right? But he explains to String, "Yo, you've been out for 9 months in a coma." Well, String is like, "Did a guy named Dominic Santini come to visit me?" And the doctor, with some hesitation, is like, "Yes, he sat next to your bed and talked to you like you could hear him." John, I mean, yeah. And then he says, "Yeah, he was a good friend."
Yeah, he was a good friend, being something that Hawk picks up on immediately.
And he's like, "What? Oh, he died?"
He says Dom and Archangel were killed in a raid in North Vietnam.
Yeah. And String is obviously upset by this, so he's like holding his hand.
Yeah, he keeps doing this, which I was glad they made sense. But he keeps doing this, and I thought it was actually a nice touch ultimately.
Now, all this staff, the hospital staff, is like in a room, and this is where it started to really seem like it was getting fishy for me, right? Because the guy's like, you gotta change the medication. You know, this guy in this suit. You gotta change the medication. We want everybody on a plane this time tomorrow.
Yeah.
And what were you feeling around that point, John? Was it starting to click for you, or what?
It clicked for me when he talked to Peter Patrick McGregor. I was never in on what was going on. I thought it was, yeah.
Okay, fair. And then we're back in String's room, and Morton shows up, and he's smoking a pipe.
Yes, I thought that was lovely. Like, could we be more arch? Have him come in with the pipe.
It's like, oh, yeah, I'm just Archangel's, replacement, if you will. I mean, he termed it some other way.
Yeah. Can't replace Archangel. So
no.
He has his job.
Yeah, and that for me was it seemed like a trick. Like, because he was asking, where, you don't need Airwolf anymore. What do you mean you don't need Airwolf anymore? So,
well, if he got his brother back, that was the deal from the beginning, right? So if he has St. John
right, right, they say, oh yeah, Archangel and Dominic died in the raid, but your brother, Sinjin, is alive. And I kind of glossed over this, I missed it before, but when McGregor, whatever his name is, throws the thing out of the plane, in the package is a identity bracelet.
Yes.
Which says St. John on it.
Yes.
Which translates in Hawkese to...
Not just in Hawkese, in apparently the Airwolf universe to Sinjin. Which I'm really struggling to understand. But we'll get to that. Okay. So he does meet, his brother comes and visits him in the room, and he has a bunch of supporting documents that back up the tale of woe of the death of Dom and Archangel, and some lovely pictures of them in the news and stuff, which seems weird for a firm guy. Right?
Yeah, what was the headline? The headline was my notes, but no chance they survived. These are the two men that didn't survive.
And there's no chance. Don't think about it.
At the beginning of this episode, is just like last episode, we had that kind of
mission briefing. Yeah.
Mission briefing, kind of intelligence services kind of briefing thing. And they say Stringfellow's 34.
They also say he's sensitive.
And withdrawn. His only friend is Dominic Santini, but he's 34. And when Sinjin walks into the room in the hospital, I did a double take. The guy looked like he was in his mid to late 50s, at least.
Yeah, but they're saying he just came out of a POW camp. Maybe at that point you're like, he lived
It
hard.
aged him.
It aged him.
But if they're brothers, I mean, look, people have, my wife's sister's 20 years younger than her, but
Yeah.
This looked like a really big gap to cross in terms of age difference.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Oh, I mean, yeah, it happens in families, but it was certainly something to take note of. I'm looking for. It was interesting. I actually looked up the guy who did the voice at the beginning. It was
Oh,
Lance Legault. Because I just recognized the voice, and he's just one of those guys. Like I looked him up. He was an A-team. Usually plays like a colonel. Right, a lot of like army things in there. You'd know his face right away. Well, we have the reveal, right? We go out, and it's like, dun dun dun. His helicopter's fine. It didn't crash. We found it in a field,
right.
right? And so that was a little bit that put me on the wrong foot as an audience member. I was just like, wait, but what? Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the scene in Archangel versus Dom where it's like, tell me where Airwolf is. They kidnapped him, and he's like, don't you trust me? And Dom just kind of gave him a long look. And I went, no.
Yeah. He's like, he says these people are a member of Schwarzkrieg, which my German is, I don't know German, but to me that translates to Black War.
Okay, interesting.
Pretty interesting. Black War, which
kind of tells you they're the bad guys.
East German spy organization. They've landed in the U.S. They're up to something no good. Dom is playing dumb. Oh, why would they care? What does this have to do with me and Airwolf and blah blah blah? Well, String's been missing for 30 hours. He's basically dead to us. You got to tell us where Airwolf is, otherwise they're gonna take it away. Dom says, "Oh, I don't trust you."
Then he just kind of pieces out, right? Then he leaves.
No, because Archangel is like, well, we're your friends now. We should have earned your trust. And he goes, yeah, that was yesterday. What about today? You people have a funny way of changing size to suit your needs. Another quotable line.
Yeah, and Morella's briefly sort of insulted and then kind of just shuts up.
Yeah. And she does this twice in this episode where she's just like shut down. She like asks some questions and then she gets her answer and she's like, all right, well,
guess that's it.
So he doesn't trust Archangel. Meanwhile, the school marmish nurse, the mean nurse that pushed String, is like giving him new bags, and the cute little nurse girl is like watching, this whole thing happen.
Because she has picked she's gone through her keys and figured out the stairwell key onto the private floor where Huck is being held.
Right, because she saw earlier St. going up in the elevator, and we got to talk about the St. situation, but we'll get to that later. But
and hold on, very briefly to help the audience, the reveal of the Black War Germans and Peter Patrick. And so all of the people who've been working on Hawk were identified as German and his shrink are all German or Russian spies or Peter Patrick McGregor. So we know that they're the bad guys.
And Peter Patrick McGregor is just like a total mercenary, and he's just available for the highest bidder. Doesn't matter. He's got no allegiance to anybody. He's one of those guys. So gun for hire. And the nurse is kind of she goes into String's room. And he grabs her. He's like, tell me what day it is. Tell me what day today is. And she's like, oh, it's August 3rd, which is not the day in the newspaper. So
or the year, yeah.
he's like, if I was out for 6 months, I wouldn't have these calluses on my hand. I'm like, oh, String, you're so smart. That's what I would be thinking if I woke up from a coma. And be like,
do I still have calluses?
Do they match up?
Now, when the evil blonde nurse comes, Nurse Ratchet, we can use her as a sort of shorthand. She has this huge syringe, and she starts to put it into the IV bag. But before this part, it is revealed that String is onto her. Right? He pulls the IV out and then leaves it laying on his arm because he doesn't want to give himself up. And that's before the Nurse Susan, who's the younger nurse, comes in and he finds out the date. Now it's all confirmed. He knows he's been tricked, and they go to make their escape. How does that go for them, Paul?
Well, what he does to kind of cover up his mistake is what's known as the old pillow under the blanket ploy.
Classic ploy.
Yeah, so he pulls the pillow under the blanket ploy, and Doctor what's his name,
Rothschild.
Rothschild comes in. He's like, "Oh, he's gone!" He pulls back the
Pulls out the
blanket.
gun. Pulls out the semi right away. Like he's like, "What's up? I'm a German spy. Fuck this doctor stuff."
Yeah, and String and Nurse Susan are like running through the halls, and they duck into like this like television studio room, and they come up with the idea that this whole thing he's been engineered by these spies. So they're putting it together.
Yes.
We've already hopefully, if you're watching it, you've already put it together, unless you like missed half the episode going to the bathroom or something.
I appreciated this scene in that. So they come into the studio and there's a bunch of TVs on showing different things, and they show him recovering from the crash. Now, how they would have possibly gotten that footage is a wonderful experiment in mental gymnastics, but it explains how they were trying. Like it showed that they were trying to imprint memories into Stringfellow, and they had the picture. This was one of my favorite parts of the episode. They had the two pictures of the men, his brother, and then the actor who was playing his brother, or the German spy who was playing his brother, and they were just flipping back and forth. And he was like, "That's my brother," and he clearly did not see both pictures. And the nurse was able to say, no, that's two different guys. What are you talking about? So that was showing that they had been able to brainwash him into actually believing this actor was his brother, which explains why he didn't recognize that his own brother was a spy. So I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting because I didn't read that in that way. And that's what you're saying is actually a better explanation to what was going on in my brain, which was, what the hell is going on? Why can't he tell the difference between these two men? And that's like as far as it went in my brain, because then we went on to the next scene and I had forgotten about it. But very nice observation there, and I think that's what it feels like. That's what that was meant to be.
That's what they were going for, yeah. Because the shrink turns out to be a Russian expert in manipulation and the use of drug to imprint memory. So this appears to be her part of the program, if you will, which was effective.
And I guess it was effective enough because they did actually get the location of Airwolf from String, even though at the time he was like onto it, but he gave them the location anyway.
Yeah, that was tough.
So I kind of want to get through the rest of this really quickly. Let's just say that String and Airwolf get picked up. They go in. McGregor is in Airwolf with String. They load Airwolf into the back of this like cargo plane transfer chain. They got String in a straitjacket. They got the little girl nurse in a straitjacket. A couple of guys are up in the cockpit. We got a couple of guys in the back, the school marmish nurse and what's his name?
The bad guys. All the bad guys. Peter Patrick is flying.
Peter Patrick is flying, and Morton is in the back with the nurse.
The head suit with the pipe, who works for Gaddafi, apparently directly.
Because they're bringing him to Cuba. They're going to stop at Cuba and have a vacation there, and then they're gonna go to Libya from Cuba because that's just a quick little.
That's how you do it. Yeah.
Little skip there, but Dom has stowed away in Airwolf. He comes out. He holds up Morton. They take control of the back of the plane. Airwolf gets dumped out of a moving plane mid-flight outside near Cuba, somewhere over the Gulf of Mexico, I suppose.
Sure. Sounds exactly like what it goes on.
They do some technical wizardry. Airwolf somehow pulls out and doesn't hit the water, and they have a big dogfight.
Airwolf just has a chute. It has a chute. We don't know why it has a chute. Because of this. It ain't new. It might get dropped out of a plane one day.
It reminded me of the Batman belt, where he's always got the tool in his belt.
Yeah, Airwolf's a bit of the belt. Yeah, that's fair.
So they're like, deploy the chute and then hit the thing and go Airwolf jet thrusters and then drop the chute and pull up, and then we fight with use the Starfire, get rid of the missiles. We got the classic over the missile shot where you're looking over the back of the missile and it's flying towards Airwolf. I was impressed by that.
Yep.
And Airwolf here's the plane with McGregor, and Airwolf is being pursued by the missile, and Airwolf pulls up, and the missile hits them. They
Yeah.
are killed, I
Which
guess.
is fun, but like seems like a harder way to go about destroying that vessel when you have Airwolf who just has its own missiles
I
and stuff. But hey, efficiency,
I think
resource management. That's
if
what
you
that
have
is.
a missile following you, you want to get that missile off your tail, so you
Might as
divert
well,
it.
yeah, might
Got
as
to
well
get rid
use
of
it
it.
to blow up the bad
Like
guys. Yeah.
if he blows up McGregor, then that missile is still on his tail. He's still got to do something about it.
I feel like it. You know what? I'm gonna go with it. I agree. Accepted.
Okay. Yeah. And then there was also one missile that was like really close to Airwolf, and it just like whoop, right into the water.
Yeah, he just kind of went, woo, and then it hit the water because he's just so good.
But it wasn't like a missile hitting the water. There was no explosion. It was just like a whoop.
Yeah. The missiles don't explode when they hit the water.
I don't know. So anyway, they escape. They blow up the MiGs. You know, Dom. I mean, come on, man. Dom is just the man. And they get out. They go to the Hawk's nest.
Yeah.
Yeah, Archangel. I mean, you got to do this because it's very peculiar what he was doing. He was by the fireplace next to Morella, and he's just like standing there like this with his cane.
It's a weird choice. I had a professor in college who used to do that all the time. Except he wore tighter pants, and it was unfortunate.
Oh,
We got to
you know
show
what?
him.
Something I realized. I don't know if the cane is a choice by like Belisario and the writers, or it's because the actor Alex Cord suffered from polio as a child.
Hmm. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't know.
Interesting.
We don't see polio these days,
Hmm.
really. So I don't know what it does to someone, but he had an interesting life because he learned equestrian and became a horse equestrian rider,
Oh wow.
and then also an actor. He might have been even confined to a wheelchair in his youth or something, but
Yeah.
who knows?
We don't know. Yeah.
And there's a little bit of dialogue there, and then at the end, like Dominic comes in with Nurse Susan, and Blabbermouth Archangel is like, "You told her where Airwolf is," and then somehow
She, she's like, oh, is that what your helicopter's called?
and String is like, "We weren't going to tell her the name, Archangel, you blabbermouth."
It was a cute. I thought the ending was cute. It was, a nice little laugh at the end of what was a pretty like serious kind of episode. So
and then
relatively
he's like,
intense.
he's like, "So you know where they keep Airwolf?" And then she's like, "Well, I was asleep when we landed, sort of."
Sort of. Yeah.
What was that?
It was her fucking with Archangel, and it was kind of funny.
And that's the episode. Pretty cut
That's
and
the
dry.
episode. It ends right there. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the
Oh man,
episode.
but I loved it, man. I had such a laugh. I was dying with that. I take it you didn't care for it as much as I did.
I liked it in parts. I thought they made a real. I think it's really hard to write the story they're trying to write with the spy amnesia coma, and have it all stitched together in a way that's actually convincing. And it's just one of those episodes that I think the more you pay attention to it, the more it starts falling apart at the edges and kind of. And I was, because of what we're doing, I'm sitting there taking notes, and I'm like, wait, so
Mm-hmm.
the helicopter crash didn't happen? Why does he remember? Like, and they try to explain it. Like they do. It's just at the end, I was left pretty unconvinced by the whole like con job on Hawk. And as you pointed out, like he knows that they're shady, and then he tells them where Airwolf is. That doesn't track with him at all as a character. Like that doesn't make
No.
any sense. That is borderline character breaking for him to have given up that information to that guy. And it's that stuff. Like that's so. Like I was having fun, and I think it's like the best dogfighting we've had after I think maybe just period. But like
Yeah.
I got caught up in all the like sort of little idiosyncrasies and inconsistencies, so it made it harder for me to kind of enjoy the entire episode. But I want them to try to do this, so I don't want to be too hard. Like because they tried to do something. They tried to do a difficult episode to produce instead of just like, here are some people in the country that suck, I'll blow them up, come back, you win, God bless. Like that, which would be the easiest episodes to write in the world for the show. Or there's like a guy who believes he's above the law and then like go fuck him up. You know, like it's I want to encourage it. I would watch it, I would consume it, but I didn't think it was executed quite where I wanted it to be.
Yeah, well, I completely agree with all that, but it's something about it to me, like, I was still, my first time through, I was still kind of like, I was a little confused, you know, so
That probably helped. That probably helped you enjoy
no,
it.
it made the episode more enjoyable to watch, for sure, for me.
Mm-hmm.
So that brings me to like my first of my big three things, which is this like murder mystery feel for this Airwolf episode, and I enjoy that. Do you ever watch Murderville?
No.
It's on like Netflix or one of these streaming. It's Will Arnett, and he basically plays like this kind of like a bad homicide detective, but each episode is written as like a mystery, and there's another actor there. Or like one episode was Marshawn Lynch, one episode it was Ken Jeong, one episode it was Sharon Stone, and they actually get presented the evidence, and at the end of the episode they have to
solve the murder.
They have to solve the murder, and they have 3 people that they have to pick from.
Okay.
And this kind of put me in that headspace a little bit.
Yeah.
Because when I first saw the opening credits of the episode, they were like name after name after name after name after name.
Yeah.
And then it's like name as St. John, which we all know translates to St. John. So it's like, whoa, what is going on in this episode? There's a lot of actors in this.
Yeah.
A lot.
As St. John / Dapper Man is how I saw it, which was interesting. That actually, if we could just parlay that into right there into one of my big things, make it a big thing party. Let's get it out there. His name is St. John. What the hell is going on?
Why?
What is happening, Paul? Why did it keep saying Sinjin?
I don't know
on
why.
The screen. It was on the screen at the start of the episode. It said St. John. I was like, cool, we're done. We're done. His name is St. John. We can just not do this anymore. And as soon as they fucking start talking, Sinjin. What the? How does St. John okay.
I don't know, John.
I need you guys to stop this, please. In retrospect, I want you to go back in time and stop calling him Sinjin.
It's St. John.
Go back.
So if I say Sinjin, like, am I going to get in trouble if I say Sinjin?
No, because you're just saying what they say. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I can't. It's, dude. I don't know why. Why? I don't know why this bothers me so much. It's
John,
just absurd.
This is the way I feel about the word reminded. Why do people say reminded? Why?
Because it's the word, man.
No, it's remound.
No, that's the word you want it to be.
That's the word I want it to be. Okay, I'll play a game with you. I'm going to say the word in the present tense, and you're going to say the word in the past tense.
I don't think we should play this game, Paul. I think
fine.
We should, fine. I'm
What's
not
the past tense? Come on. Just
new found.
Wine.
Found. Yes.
I don't know. That's it.
Yeah. And then,
there are more examples of this. Okay.
Here's the important thing.
Your big thing is this ridiculous Sinjin situation.
St. John. We're just gonna get that out of the way. This is gonna be my one episode. That's a big thing this episode. I'm not gonna talk about it again. That's it.
Okay. So my second big thing was this Gabrielle.
Oh, okay.
Cutscene. This. Look, and I'm aware of how this works, John, because the very first acting job I ever got was on a TV show called Rescue Me, which is Dennis the firefighter comedy. And I was in one episode, and for whatever reason, they put a clip of me as part of the coming or like recap of the last episode in the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
So because I was there, I got paid for that second episode.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Right? I got residual checks on that second episode.
So Gabby's getting paid, hopefully.
And she is in every title sequence. She's in every episode.
She's still there. Yep.
So she her IMDb might say 1 or 2 episodes. I don't know how they parcel out Shadow
Yeah.
Hawkeye, but
Yeah.
she's basically a series regular on the show because she's getting at least one day for every time she appears on screen, which is awesome for her.
Yeah.
But her, and you said it before, her storyline is still alive.
Yeah. It's interesting. They clearly want to keep her in as the target of Hawk's heart. She owns Hawk's heart still at this
Mm-hmm.
point in the story, which does all it allows them to have him meet all these women and not sleep with them, which I think will be like nice for us because that'll avoid a bunch of really awkward conversations we'd have to have otherwise.
Oh, but in terms of awkward conversations, we finally got through a whole episode without a weird, awkward moment. Like we did it.
I know. This is the '80s is quite sparse. There's no weird racism or misogyny in this episode. It's fantastic.
Yeah, weird. How'd they do that? Like, did they have a meeting and they were like, guys, we didn't do any weird hegemonic masculinity stuff. We got to add something in there. Like, too late.
Well,
There are scenes from this episode that have been cut.
that's probably it. They
I'm
cut off the
positive.
woman. They cut off the woman twice, kind of rudely. So maybe there should be more there, and they like cut it out.
But I think there's more explanation about the Russian psychiatrist.
Yeah, that would
I
make
think
sense.
I think it would bear explanation about how all this stuff worked.
Yeah.
You figured it out because you got a big brain, but everybody else.
And I watch too many of these shows. Like I have this history of like that's how they would present this because I've probably seen it in a like Battlestar Galactica episode or like something like A-Team or something where they tried to do something similar and presented it the same way and it's just in there. To go back to what is your big point, which is the intricacy of the plot that they try to do, the writing, like it is so hard to decide when you're going to do a twist, like how much to give the audience to be fair, right? Because they want them to have a shot of understanding, right?
Yeah.
And I thought the only misstep they did with that was actually showing the crash so graphically, right? Because that didn't actually happen, and it made it hard. I think that made it harder to understand.
It threw me off.
Yeah, I think that's what I think they should have indicated somehow that he that wasn't real. That like fuzziness and stuff like that more so than they did. Maybe make it like trippy or something to indicate that that's not real. As soon as
So, what's your second big thing?
I was incredibly amused by the part where they had to let Hawk go to fly Airwolf out of the hiding place because Hawk is the only one that could do it. I find this funny because Dom's already done it, and it appears that all you do is fly straight up in a helicopter, which it seems like something they do. So like,
yeah, if there was like some security feature on Airwolf or some security feature to get into the they never explain that.
Or just one show like it being like a labyrinth where you have to be all like amazing pilot to get out, but all it ever is doom doo 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 doo, and I love doom doo doo doo. But like,
I got excited.
But why? I thought they shouldn't have given him the doom doo 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 there. But whatever the case may be, like
you remember the NES version of Jaws, the video game Jaws?
No, I didn't play the NES Jaws.
Well, there was like a part at the end where you had to like pilot the boat through this maze, but it was just like water and like some rocky outcroppings, and you had to know which way to go. And if you just like went the wrong way, you crash, and that was the end.
Yeah.
So I never got past this part. And then my friend Joey comes over. He's like, "Oh yeah, you just go this way, down this way, this way," and he goes through it like one shot. I don't know.
That's what they needed to do. That's what they needed to do.
He's like, oh, you got to go here. You got to go into this cavern. You got to pull up here, and then you get out, But instead, it's just like, oh, we're going to turn on some buttons. The dials are going to go, and then we're going to get up.
But no one else could do it. No one else could do it. All right.
And then after Airwolf is flying, you'll land, put it in the plane, just tie up string again. It was very weird. Very, very weird.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, at that point, there is the question of, like, when there were only two people in the helicopter, why Dom didn't, at that point, take out the gun and be like, yo, dude, it's our helicopter, and then they could have just kind of flown out, grabbed Susan, like, give us Susan or we blow you the fuck up and go home. But then you don't get to fight the MiGs. Then you don't get to fight the MiGs. I think that's the problem. You don't get to fight them. We got to fight the MiGs.
And you maybe don't rescue or Nurse Susan, which is
It's riskier. Yeah.
my third big thing, which is Michelle Nicastro. Now, her performance left me throughout. I was fully expecting them to walk into the Hawk's Nest at the end, and Archangel would turn around and be like, "Ah, Susan."
Yes. That, now that you say it, yep.
But she was just a regular nurse.
She's a Joe. She's a regular Joe. She's just a good old person.
Yeah, she's a nurse.
You know what?
Anyway, I enjoyed her performance.
Important lesson from Airwolf. Nurses are heroes. We endorse that message at Airwolf to Rewolf.
Absolutely. And if you're a nurse and you're watching this, you should know that this particular episode, Echoes from the Past, is actually an ode, if you will, to the nursing profession.
Mm-hmm. He doesn't get out without her. And she's a breath of fresh air, man. She's amazing. Immediately, she's joking with spies. She's fine. She knows there's a super helicopter and this weird guy in the mountains that plays the cello.
She's a nurse, and she is used to high pressure situations. And even when bound by a straitjacket in a jet plane flying to Cuba and being maybe turned over to the Libyans and used as a human shield and a hostage and all this stuff, she's able to joke about going on vacations and it's just charming. I love it.
She's very charming. She gives a very charming performance.
A lot of good takes, a lot of exclamations, verbal, nonverbal.
The dog fight's a little funny because they clearly had the three of them sit in Airwolf and just kind of like make faces so they could go back to it.
I was like, what? She doesn't have a helmet on. And she's in the Airwolf and they're like doing all these maneuvers. I was like, she's going to get whiplash, man.
Is that even allowed? Can she be in there without a helmet? I don't
know.
Yes, which segues nicely into my last big one, which is, this is my favorite dog fight so far. As much as we joke around about it, like, it was really super cool. He's actually fighting jets and not unarmed helicopters that I call chopters. Callback. It's a fun episode. It's a fun fight. He defeats them, and one flies away scared at the end, and it's just big old hero shit that I really enjoyed. So
it's like a 5+ minute dogfight, which is pretty fun.
Yeah.
There's a scene at the end of the Scottish play, where Macbeth encounters this character named Young Seward.
Okay.
And young Seward is the son of Seward, who Macbeth has killed earlier. And he comes in, hell hath not seen a hotter name than you, or something like that. And then it says they fight, and young Seward is slain. And I've always had this idea that you could do a version of Macbeth where you only really focus on the fight with young Seward, and that's like a 24-minute feat of athleticism between these two actors, and then young Seward dies, and then you just forget about the rest of the play. But I don't think anybody's ever going to make that play. But this felt close to that.
They did that scene. It's in Princess Bride. Okay, for those of you who don't understand, Princess Bride has arguably the best on-screen fencing short fight ever filmed. So it is a great scene.
I think second best.
I said one of the best. What would you say is the best?
I would say it's the Polish film The Deluge.
Okay, I can't speak to that, so sure. I think that'd be really cool, though. Weird side note. I'd be super interested in that play and like the fight choreography. And you could do, what? It would be really interesting to like give it to like the hidden dragon people with all the wires and stuff, and have it like get really sort of mystical and wild. Have an Asian cast do the Scottish play, which might in and of itself be kind of fun. All right,
sure.
Let's get back to
casting. But yeah, John, watch that scene from The Deluge. Amazing. Anyway,
100%.
And so let's talk about This Was the 80s, man.
This was the 80s? This was the 80s? All right. What do I have for This Was the 80s? Let's take a moment. All right. First, we got the whole let's put in fake memories in a person using drugs and like pictures flashing and stuff, which is very 80s and doesn't actually, I think, work so much, at least not in the time frame and in the way they're showing it. But it's very much the whole coma implant fake memories storyline was a very 80s thing. It's very kind of fun. Kind of stolen from the soap operas a little bit, but entertaining, and I enjoyed the attempt, as we have discussed.
Okay.
My other This Is the 80s thing is the fake news broadcast of Diana and Prince Charles breaking up in 1984, which is exceedingly 80s, and though interesting because they called it. They got divorced, not until the 90s, but they got divorced, and we all know she tragically died. So it was super interesting to see that broadcast with them and how, because I have a vague recollection of how big they were in pop culture at the
Right.
time. It was wild how important they were, even to Americans, which I've always found weird.
Presage their divorce like that is quite remarkable, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, because that was unheard of, was the idea that they would get divorced. Like, people had left the monarchy to get married, right?
Mm-hmm.
But marrying into the monarchy and then being like deuces, that was not a thing that was really like done. So
Well, I'll say this, John. You know far more about this than I do, and like my wife, like knows the names of the princes and the children of the princes and stuff, and I don't understand it. I don't get it. I never have.
To be clear, I just gave you everything I had. That's the entirety of my knowledge.
I actually was watching it. And I was like, oh, is this around the time they got divorced? So that happened in the 90s. Good on you, John. I didn't know that. Whatever.
To move away from that, I find it super fascinating, just me and you watching the show, because in effect, the show I loved, where they had all the philosophical conversations between Rick Lenz and Ernest Borgnine, you couldn't get past the fact that the plan sucked. Right, like you kept getting caught up on the fact that they were like taking their time, seemingly, and like taking moments to do all this character development stuff that really didn't necessarily push the story forward. Now, I sort of had the same problem with this episode because I got caught up in the like, this plan doesn't make sense, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
And it kept me out of the episode and not kind of in it. And the dogfight dragged me back in, which was ultimately why I was like, all right, I'm cool. But like, it's interesting how like we both have different things that can kind of just catch us up, right? Like,
yeah,
like for almost the same reason, right? Like we had the same reaction to completely different episodes.
Oh yeah, and it's a more a matter of the things that we pay attention to and what kind of turns us on about what we're watching. And 100%. The failures are the same, right? The shortcomings are there. So, some of them I can ignore, and some of them you could ignore, and others vice versa. So, and that's interesting because it in a way, it deals with that's the 80s thing, which is
okay.
I was so locked into the Russia, Libya bad guy, thing, that when we started throwing in this mercenaries and the East Germany thing, I just like didn't expect it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wonder if that was meant to at the time be like, oh my God, all the bad guys are working together. Be scared, right? This is scary.
Yeah, right. It's like that one of the Pink Panthers, Revenge or Return of, where all of the assassins are going after Clouseau at the same time.
Okay, these are not my movies, dog. You gotta tell me.
Oh my God! Well, they're all going after Clouseau, and they can't kill him because he's just unkillable.
Well, yeah, he's Clouseau. Yeah, of course.
He's Clouseau. But I actually wrote down when we first see the pipe smoking. The pipe smoking Norton.
Yeah.
I knew he wasn't. I knew he wasn't with the firm. I knew because he wasn't wearing white.
Yeah.
He didn't have a white members only jacket lying around and throw on. You don't walk around if you're in the firm. You don't walk around in
like grays and
beiges. I mean, come on, white. Dude. You gotta get in white, baby.
He might as well have just been wearing a suit that said, "I am the bad guy."
I'm Russian. But he wasn't Russian; he was East German, and that was kind of. So we're identifying the factions of the world that are the bad guys. We haven't seen any North Koreans. We haven't seen any Chinese.
Yeah.
We've got Cuban
Well,
jets. We've got Libyans. We've
Cubans
got
are the bad
East
guys.
Germans.
Yep.
We've got Russians. We've got mercenaries.
And during this time,
Victor Boot
right?
kind of people.
During this time, that's going to be, I think, Libya's clearly, like, Gaddafi is clearly just enemy number one during the time of
He's
this
up there.
show.
Yeah.
And then you have the Cold War. So basically, if you get someone with a Russian accent, and then the Cold War just extends to East and West Germany, right? So it's like East
East
becomes East Germany becomes
West Berlin, East Germany.
becomes a reflection of Russia, effectively, right? It's just like
It's a
if they
puppet
say
state.
that, they mean Russia's in charge.
And my second mini, this is the 80s thing,
Okay, cool.
because we haven't yet had a reference to Star Wars, is as Airwolf is being loaded into the cargo bay of the big jet, the big plane, the door closes and it clanks shut, and we see Stringfellow. Oh, he hears the noise. Oh, and all I could think in my head was, because it was like the same thing as when those blast doors closed, like on Hoth. Amazing. Anyway, I think that's it, man. I think we crushed this episode. I had a great time with it. It's awesome.
All right, folks, that's going to be it for Airwolf to Rewolf. Please like and subscribe. This is John, DorkLovesSports, signing off. Have a great day.
Goodbye.